just out, because you said about the bank account, you say you do release of commercial instrument. Is that like a document that I send to the bank then, or what is that? Or
It's something that you would use anytime that you're going to have to use a commercial instrument. Like we said about your passport. Once you've got a bank account open, I don't know under what terms and what conditions you would use your ID again to create to do anything. It's a facility that you've already set up, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, with financial stuff in general, everything that you do now, you have to upload either a passport or driver's license to even open it online.
That's what I'm saying. So this is why we did, the only reason why we did the Kindness Credit account online really was to come away from that. All it did, that account, proved to us that if you give your information to anybody other than keeping the jurisdiction of it yourself, you leave yourself wide open. So it's not about assigning your consent to something separate from you, whether that's an online account. It's about you taking back the jurisdiction. But so the questions that I was talking about before the thing crashed, so this is part 2 of what we were talking about with the bank accounts.
Yeah.
You are getting away from all of that. What do I need a bank account for? I only need a bank account for the convenience of paying my bills.
Well, no, because I can't really get around the fact that I've got to pay the landlord $5,000 a month.
What? Yeah, but what if you went to your landlord and you said, I'm paying you with this kindness credit, and it's got 5,000 slave tokens worth of kindness credits written on it, and he says, bugger off, you lunatic, I want the cash. And so you give him the cash.
Because he lives, I can't really give him cash because he lives abroad.
You go to the bank, you do the job
pay
that
it in.
you think you need the bank for. You take the cash and you pay it over the counter, like we talked about somebody had done the other day. You go into the bank and you pay it over the counter. You don't need
but every business transaction that I do is online.
And that's the problem that you've got. It's because it's online. So you're taking everything offline and putting it in your ledger book lines instead. Right. Because then, and only then, have you got the control. Because look at all the people at the moment. I go to work for a company and they have to pay me into this bank account. Oh, don't accept it. If everybody turned around and said, I'm not accepting you paying into the bank account. Why? Because it's in a legal fiction's name, so you're paying a legal fiction, first of all.
Yeah. Well, also, you can't even really get money out of the bank at the moment. We've tried to get money out and they keep asking loads of questions. You can't even pay, can't even pay a plumber $2,000 cash without the bank asking you what you're drawing the money out for.
Well, yeah, but that's your fault for putting the money in there in the first place, as far as I'm concerned.
But then because currently the business relies on online travel platforms.
So let's talk about Airbnb. So on Airbnb, I've had properties in Greece on Airbnb, and it is zero. The cost of staying at this apartment is zero.
Oh wow, okay.
Because it's kindness credits, so they make the booking. They see what I'm using it for. I'm taking what is presented and converting it all into what gives me the best benefit and the least liabilities out there, which are unnecessary. I want people to see the houses that people have put inside the trust to exercise their right of use now that the banks had stolen, for example, these houses. Yeah. So the properties went up on Airbnb. The amount, if they did put an amount in, and I did some to see how it would work, some had zero. And it was that you paid in kindness credits, currency in our local currency.
Right,
so
okay.
They made the provisional booking or send me an email, contact the host. They were all contacting me saying, even if they didn't want the thing, they didn't want to stay in Icaria, for example, they would contact me and say, what's kindness credits? Well, actually, it's a tax-free money exchange process. That means that if all of the people who use Airbnb use this process, then you wouldn't be having to pay the dividend, really, because obviously as a host, I've got to incorporate the cost that Airbnb are going to charge me for having their fingers in my pie.
Yeah.
So instead, what we've got is this is what Lisa's working on at the moment, is all of our PWC, or all of our equity, all of our rights of use. It might be a car. I've got a car, I only use it once a month. And so here's the right of use of my conveyance for the trust to use. Or I'm putting 5 hours a week in, and I've got a hotel, and it looks like 5 weeks a year. There's my come and exercise your right of use of hotels in Norfolk Broads, for example. Hotels in Norfolk Broads, they're up to here in water. They're all boats. On this platform instead, where there's nobody benefiting or trespassing on your exchanges that you have with people. So the whole idea, it's not about just, yes, in one way we have to do it step by step, but in another way, especially for a business, because it's all commerce. It's not like I've got to untangle my mind out of me being a private individual with sovereign rights and now she's telling me I'm a commercial fiction. I get that I've taken what that thing is that I think that I am, and I've turned it into commercial fiction. So people in business have only been doing what it is they've been doing because they haven't been given an alternative. Now they have. So if I'm looking on Airbnb, I want to stay in Airbnb where you are, and I say, okay, I want to book this one. What do? It's contact the host. So I've seen in there that either I can pay the usual way, this way, and pay my tax and all of that, and you can have somebody else's holding account receiving the money for you anyway. You can have your kindness credit holding account there, so that there's no connection between any charges that this corporation would like to affix to the legal fiction that they think they can persecute you through. But let's say because you've had your money being paid into a bank account, they come along and say, oh, there's a council tax charge or a standing charge or whatever against the name, and so they can embargo your current account. You can't do that anymore. It's all things that I was incriminating myself with, given back to the creator of incrimination, the Rome, the Vatican. So that's their banking system. So what you would have instead is people come in and say, I know I've seen this before, but because I've done this myself, this is why I can tell you from experience. If I had a lady come into the first customer in the shop that we'd opened in Summers, there's the Ministry of Remedy there, and she's jumped off the boat. And she comes running in, she's like, I've only got a little bit of time, and bought loads of things, put them on the counter, and went to give me the cards. And I said, don't accept that. So she said, no. And she'd been there 20, 30 minutes, talking to me about her comprehension of natural remedies and stuff. And I said, look, if I can take that payment, I can take it across around the corner to the shop. Got one. And that I could put it in their account and they can give me cash back, and then I can do the transaction. But I'm going to have to charge you the tax on that, because they'll get charged the tax if we do it this way. Or you can spend 2 minutes walking up the road, go to the hole in the wall, get the cash out and come back, and it's 20%, 25%, 23%. It's cheaper. Really? Yeah. Off she went. Came back, it's 23% cheaper. Is it not worth a 2-minute walk to go up the road and get your money? It's freezing. The messages are coming up saying it's frozen.
Okay, we got you again now. Okay. We just lost you for about, 20 seconds or something.
So
not of that story completely, but yeah.
So the woman, when I said, if we take the card, I can take the card, go to the shop around the corner, take the transaction, but you'll have to pay the 23% tax that she'll get charged on it. I won't, because I'm just going to take the tax. I'm going to just take the transaction out, so she'll take the tax and give me back what I was going to keep anyway. That's the whole point of me trying to show you how it works. But if you go walking up the road 2 minutes, get the money out the hole in the wall, come back, it's 23% cheaper. What did she do? She went up the road, came back, got the cash. Now what? Okay, put the cash on there. That's how many rocks it is. Swap the rocks for the cash. Give me a promising note of an exchange receipt, bill of exchange. And she was like, wow. I said, yeah, you just saved 23%. And there was no terrorism supported in this transaction, more importantly. That's what people first step is, not supporting the terrorists. And I'm helping somebody else not to do it either. So
the connection is going in and out quite a lot. So I've just got you again. I'm not sure what is going on, but yeah, it's smooth right now, but it might just drop off, I think.
Okay. So have you got any more? Really what you're doing is you're driving the community to stop being so beholden, or whatever that word is, reliant on corporate state government.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if people are on benefits, this works. And just to exemplify this, about everything that we talked about here being legal, if it wasn't legal, what we did and what we do, then when we went in to restore the rights of the creditors in Monmouthshire last week and at the hospital at Radlett, the police would have been straight through the door with the charges of criminal damage. But because they...
so I definitely think we need to reset the connection, because it does just keep dropping off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just keep rambling on a second. About the restoration of rights. If we weren't doing what it was that we were doing legally, the police would have gone through the door and charged everybody in there with criminal damage. But because the notices were already served on the parties who were trying to sell your assets, your community assets, to the lowest bidder, we might add, it's not like they were made these properties, this on its own have got a value of in excess of at least 5 to 6 million at market value. And it was going to be sold for a reserve of 800,000 and it went up to 1.3 million. They already knew that we had said that this had already been secured, and they carried on trying to sell it. And obviously they did, said that they'd sold it, but they can't sell it because it is two separate things. For them, it's the title, they can sell that, but they cannot sell the right of use of equity, an asset that's assigned and secured. So because we've done this following their due process, yes, we might not agree with it and we think that it's fraud, but what we're doing is we are countering like with like, so one cancelling the other out and making 0 at that point. So anybody's got any hesitations about this, you can just look around you. People have gone and restored buildings, police stations, they were supposed to get evicted out of there and we stopped that. And you know, people have rebutted thousands and thousands of different incidents now using this process. So we're not talking about maybe baby or a hypothesis, it's actually real and it's happening, and it's just down to when people are ready to do it. So the steps are really easy. Just do the assignments of explained in part 1 before we got cut off. And have you got any other questions? You still there?
Yep.
Apparently we were on mute, so I think, can you hear us?
Okay, yeah, have you got any more questions?
I guess it's just the practical next steps for myself, being for the business, like what do I actually need to do? Do I need to change my electric meter?
We get to that. The first steps are the ones that I've already explained to you about. We're sending the assignment over.
Yeah.
Then you get your documents and your welcome pack. And then it's about notifying the relevant suppliers and what you do obviously is you just send those documents off.
Okay.
Then when we contact them, they can't say, oh, we can't speak to you because you're not named on the account. I can see then on this day that the assignment of consent was signed for by Smith in the post room at 11 minutes past 12, whatever, because we've got recorded delivery, so that they can't say that they don't know, that they can't say that they haven't been notified. And it's all down to that. If people can just get their heads around, it's one big presumption and you've just got to rebut it, that's it. And so you've got other people to stand surety to you. So you can do your 5 hours in the best way that you can, and not be thinking, you know, everyone's got their niche part to play in this. So the practical steps are open my email, put the information into the kindness credit claim form, send it over, and that's the first step to get this.
Okay, and that obviously applies to the personal bills and liabilities as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, the other question I had was just about the car insurance and car tax. I guess that's a slightly different process with the VIN.
Yeah, no, it's the same again, is that you're assigning, you're giving back the title. So it's what you actually bought. You didn't buy the title, you bought the right of use of the chassis with an engine in it. So it's the VIN number that you've actually got the right of use of. They stuck their corporate plates on there, or you did, and because you were scared that somebody was going to come and tell you that you need to pay a fine having those number plates for not paying the tax for using those number plates. If I have to pay the tax to use those number plates, what happens if I don't use those number plates? Who do I pay the tax to? I've got no tax. I'm not implying that I'm in commerce. So you send over the VIN number, the VIN and the make and model of the conveyance. That gets assigned into your trust, and again you get back the right of use of the VIN number and the chassis, the engine, obviously. And then that comes on an exemplification certificate that replaces the V5. You put on the V5 document gone for export to Greece, and or LS, we put LS, and then your tax liability, obviously you're not going to have DVLA plates on there because you've exported the conveyance from being presumed to be goods belonging to UK Limited.
Okay. And in the event of an accident, it again, it's in the name of the trust, and it can be offset within the is it the 10 quadrillion? It kind of goes into that whole realm.
Yeah,
is that right?
The indemnity that's standing surety to you anyway, that you don't even know about, is the shares of the planet that is cut up in little pizzas. Let's say you've all got a slice of this 7.8 billion piece of pie, and that's what's been being laundered inside the stock exchange, being sold, that your share of the water, the gold, etc., between these corporations, and they should have been paying dividends for the right of use of your shares to your trust. But when it became a corporation, that stopped happening anyway, and you weren't getting it anyway because we've had criminals operating this because it was created for criminal intent by the Vatican in 1302. So it was never going to be the way it should have been. And now we know that there is a process in play in our peripheral existence, then when we know how it works, then we're obliged to make sure that it works and the right of use is being used right. So the indemnity, let's say I drive into you now and I haven't got any insurance. What happens? I call the police. Oh my God, I haven't got any insurance, and the police put me in the court. What happens there in the court is my share of this planet and its resources, represented by the birth certificate, is opened, because I used that name to imply that I granted them the administrative authority of the administration of my shares, because I hadn't got my own version of a trust to do this for me, to stand surety for me in this world of fake liabilities. So I really did cause a loss to your conveyance. You couldn't work. I damaged your car. And so what really is happening is that our two liabilities that we created is now being monopolized, is capitalized on. So how much can we make out of this terrible incident? So we shouldn't be profiteering on people's liabilities, and that's obviously where we've been going wrong. It's gone off again, hasn't it?
Okay. We just got you back. Yeah. I think I just called that.
what happens in the court is that my share of the planet's resources are used to discharge the liabilities, but only because everybody's operating in commerce. If I just needed your car to be fixed, I would say to the guy who's given me 5 hours in exchange for a holiday in a hotel somewhere that was only available there because we'd got it back off the bank using the surety services from the trust, I can turn around to the garage guy and say, can you fix this guy's car for me, please? He say, yeah, take it out of my 5 hours. Well, now this, so he gets what he needs. The liabilities are discharged. Did we need slave tokens is the question. Did we need to capitalize on our liabilities anymore? No, we didn't. I turn to you and I say, I'm very sorry. I hold unlimited liability for the damage that I've caused you. Not I'm hiding behind my insurance company. It wasn't me, it was him. What happens at that point and what do you need? Well, I've got a mortgage. I'm worried that they're going to come and take my house because I'm not going to be able to work for 6 to 12 months because of my leg. I need to feed the children. They need to have these. This is their standard of living. Give me a claim form. I'll give it to my trust. Okay, I've caused a liability to this member of my community, and I need you guys who I've got the 5 hours a week in this pot here to stand surety to one another with. What can we cover out of this? Well, I can take care of him. I can provide his food. We can discharge his mortgage. We can get rid of his electricity bill and his gas, and it's not just for 6 months to 12. For we're unlimitedly discharging those liabilities. And so the liability became a benefit instead of our benefits causing liabilities. And so we just swung it back over to where it should be. And these definitions are redefined.
Yeah, I guess on a practical level, just to go back to, let's say my credit card has a bunch of money on it and I want to disconnect from that liability, but then my bank is then probably not going to be too happy with me holding an account with them. But then practically for my business, I do obviously need some amount of a bank account at least for a transition period. I guess it's just that trickiness.
That's why we use the holding account. And so when you pay, like Tina paid into the holding account, so it's just one account. And on there, Tina's put 300 quid, whatever it was, her kindness credit account number, and we know that it's sitting there waiting for Tina to tell us what to do with it. You do the same thing. So you have that account number on there instead of the account number that was in the legal fiction, and anybody putting money into that account would use your kindness credit account number as a reference, and we know that it's yours. It gets all taken out in cash. What is it for? Where's this cash come from? Money exchange. Nothing happened here. Just pieces of paper got swapped for pieces of paper, or credits on a screen got swapped for credits on the screen. Just kept it fiction. And what we are actually doing, if people can just get their minds out of what we've been conditioned to do, we've been conditioned to credit numbers on the screen. And we think that we're now defined by how many numbers we've got, is how much of my energy that represents. How much of my energy have I had to expel over here for it to account for those numbers on a screen? If you want numbers on a screen, give you numbers on a screen. We can give you 100 million, 1,000, trillion, 10 quadrillion, billion on there if you want. We have. And they can't argue with it. We've said there on this screen over here, just like they say to you, there is a debt. From where? Or from not paying your water bill. Hang on a minute. Did God say, or whoever it is that created the water, that I had to pay him? Show me the contract. Well, no, but because you gave your right of the share of the water to my corporation, I can come and intercept it and say you haven't paid me, and then come and steal your house because of it. So as far as the bank accounts go, what do I need the bank accounts for? Again, the question comes back. Sit and think. If I have got a different method of exchange, and I'm saying to my customers, put it on the website. Do you sell lots of things long distance, or because what we're trying to do is make everything local again, support our local communities and allow for direct democracy in our communities.
Yeah, we do both long distance and community local.
So on the website, for the people who are buying from that are not in your locality, you would use the kindness credit widget, and you could also use the kindness credit account holding account with that transaction having a specific reference number, which is your kindness credit account, so we would know that any credit coming into that account was yours. Okay. And then how you decided to have it back could be up to you. You can have it back in kindness credits, because now the idea is what people are supposed to be doing now is going, right, okay, I've stuck 10 grand in that account there. It doesn't have to be the kindness credit account. It could just be a teapot with 10 grand in it. And I'm 8 grand, let's do 8 grand. And then I'm going to go with 1,000 kindness credit notes with 8 kindness credits written on it. And I'm going to give those to the people that I would normally pay. So I'm coming along to my supplier, say, hey, supplier, you want me to pay you 8 grand. So I'm sending you by email kindness credit note, 1,000 kindness credits, it says, and tell me which account it is that you want me to convert that into, just like we did with you. Which account, how would you like me to convert that? Do you want me to convert that into pounds, dollars, yen, what? Well, pounds. Okay, so I'm going to call this number, and what am I doing now? I'm calling kindness credit to say, right, I need you to send 8,000 slave tokens from that holding account to his account. You haven't, what you're doing is you are the master of your own state. You're ordering your services, your ministers to do the job for you. I'll keep myself out of commerce. And I'm telling you, use these commercial structures that you've got to discharge those liabilities over there. So the guy sends me into the next supply. And at that point, what have you done then? You just brought your supplier in. So your suppliers then stand there going, what the bloody hell happened there? You gave me a note. I thought I was going to get ripped off. And 8,000 quid just appeared in my account. And I've still got the note. Well, yeah, because, and if you'd have not turned it into kindness credits, that 8,000 could have been worth 800,000, 8 million, depending on what your overheads are. So you diminish the note by wanting slave tokens. Do you want to go back a few steps and keep it as kindness credits so that I can speak to you about how that note can discharge all of your liabilities and your business can be a tax haven too, which is why I'm using it.
Interesting. Yeah. And we spoke about properties as well that the government are reclaiming, and that we can obviously reclaim them as well.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Restoration of rights. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because that's very interesting for someone who's just stuck in the rent trap. You know? So
the restoration of rights of the creditors, this is their code. This is how, it's like the Mercantile Law Amendment 5. How did they end up with all of your accounts? By saying we're the party standing surety. After trust completely dissolved into the muddy areas of administrative legislation and corporation, through the Securities and Exchange Commission Act and the Indenture Act, they wrote this piece of paper and said that a corporation could behave like a trust. Now, at that point, all of us and our equitable shares, this piece of pizza that we had, was used as collateral to discharge the debt that they had said that we owed them for the war that we just had. To 1934, this came to force. And then what's been happening, because we were corporate state then from that point on, all of the money that we were using was fiat-based currency. We were just creating perpetual debt. The debt really comes from the committing of the fraud on your soul and the use of their money. So when we're talking about, they wrote this Securities and Exchange Commission, and this is created something called the Uniform Commercial Code. So every country that became a corporate state registered inside the Securities and Exchange Commission is subject to uniform commercial codes. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, uniform commercial code is what is in operation. And it is a very good set of standards when you read it for any corporation or to be complied, to conform to. However, it is open as anything for complete misrepresentation. So what they've done by turning the trust into a corporation, they moved you from being the creditors that we talked about to the debtors, from the beneficiaries to the liability holders. And so whichever way you played this horrific game now, you were going to be, you were the debtor. Now, in order for them to be able to come and say, your house is my house, look at how a mortgage works. People think that they don't understand secured party creditor. The bank, you go to the bank, you say, hey bank, I need to exercise my right of use, is really what you're saying, to shelter. I need to exercise my right to shelter. And because everybody's using money, because of the belief that you've indoctrinated with them, I now need to give somebody a big pile of slave tokens to swap their corporate fiction name for my corporate fiction on the title deed that I think is going to give me the right of use of the house. Then the bank look at me and say, well, thank you very much for assigning your consent to us to act as the administrators of your finances. That gives us, as the admin, to open up your trust account, but you've got to give us a claim. You've got to tell us, what is it for? How much do you want? And what you do when you actually write that signature is you create a promissory note. You are the creditor. You are the only thing that can create. They can't create. They have to get you to create on their behalf because they are in fiction. So you've gone to their fiction and said, I'm going to create your fiction as real. I'll give you my signature because I don't know how this works. You've got me. I'm an incapacitated legal minor. I don't know about banking and finance. And so I think that I'm giving you a contract to say, can you give me 250 grand of somebody else's money? That's not true. You've just given them 250,000 slave tokens worth of your energy credit in their currency. And they are then going to imply that they have, who lent who what is what we say to them. And because it's you that I had granted the currency, the promissory note, the credit, merely to your trust, to say, I need to exercise my right of use. My trust hasn't got any equity in it, I think. So here I am, I'm granting the equity so that the trust really can do this exchange. But I trust who? I haven't got my own trust. I trust Crown Corporation. So the Crown Corporation and their agencies thereof license themselves to do this terrible energy laundering slavery system and kept you in the dark. And that their terms and conditions are that we lent you 250 grand and you promised us to pay it back with interest. Well, the contract's fraud. You didn't tell me that I was actually creating the credit that you then granted me back. You coerced me to create credit so I could borrow it back and claim against myself. I can't take a car and insure myself in one car and inside the other I'm insured as well and drive them together and make a claim. Everybody knows that. It's fraud. But you've got me claiming against myself. And I want to carry on doing it because I can't think of any other way of being able to operate without. So that is them getting you to perform as the debtor. And they've made themselves, so they've said that they've lent you money. I'm the secured party creditor. I'm the bank, and I've looked at your property that you wanted to buy. I've looked at, are you a very good Vatican debt slave? Is it likely that you're going to pay me back? Yes, because you went to this school and you had this education, you eat this GMO and you drink the tap water. Yeah, I've got all of your data. I can do my risk assessment and I can look at you and say, yeah, your credit rating's all right. I'm going to hedge my bet, and I hedge my bet. You're indemnifying yourself. You are the underwriter of your own terrorism. Everybody is. So at this point, now I'm an unsecured creditor of this system because of my belief. I believe that I have to do this to get my right of use of the property. So the bank becomes a secured party creditor in title only through your presumption. And so when we
and through your consent, right? They've kind of coerced you into consenting that.
Yeah, people think that, we're ruled by consent. Look, nobody's got any consent because of legal fiction. The minute that I consent to be legal fiction, I haven't got any rights. So what have the government got? And they have got the consent of legal minors, and their consent doesn't count. And that's why they can do what it is the hell they like, because your consent stopped counting the minute you said, I'm not legal fiction. So that's why, it looks the way it looks. So that they, as the secured party creditors, wrote themselves a nice little uniform commercial code, numbered Article 9, paragraph 609 and 9610. 9609 is the restoration of rights of the creditor. What rights has the bank got if the bank's the secured party creditor? Well, the bank has got the right to restore the rights of use of the collateral that was secured by the debt. So if it's peacefully surrendered, there doesn't need to be a court case. What have they got you doing? You are peacefully surrendering your equitable rights to the legal fiction and removing yourself, alienating yourself from your rights. You've made yourself an unsecured creditor of their system, and you peacefully surrender the collateral, not knowingly, but they've said because it's a debt, there's a debt. They said that you owe us a debt, so and we haven't had to break the doors down, even if we're smashing your doors in, because you already peacefully surrendered your collateral to us when you put your signature on the document to enter into a contract using legal fiction that wasn't yours. You peacefully surrendered your rights to us. And it's at that point that you stop being the secured party in anything. So when we get to the point where the bank turn around and they've played this horrible game of fraud on you and misrepresentation, you're looking at them now, that they can make you insolvent, bankrupt, they can take your house, they can dispose of the collateral and render it useless in any way they see fit. Why? Because you already peacefully surrendered it. So there's no point in standing there saying, we're not peacefully surrendering the rights against the bailiffs. You already did. Why? Because the title deed is in the legal fiction. The bank, the accounts, the legal fiction has been used. The point of initiation of all of this shit is the point where you said, yes, I'm not going to conduct claim. So this structure stops that presumption and something else happens. Again, like we talked about the mortgage, so whether we're talking about mortgages or people's community public asset being used as collateral, the government now are selling everything or making it look like it's being sold because it's already been used as collateral to indemnify and underwrite any legal action that you're all going to take against Bill Gates, Microsoft, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, or the government itself for the gene therapy coming at you under the guise of coronavirus. Now, we know that that's already been happening. All you have to do is look on the stock exchange, a company called Biohacks that uses Microsoft that has already given a 20% share of its company with expected turnover in its first year of millions of billions, which is impossible as a company to project unless you've got the ears and the minds of the governments that are going to force your product or service onto the people of its nation. And we know that they're all going to get it, going to get this particular products because we're going to force it on you. We're going to write the legislation to make it so you have to have it. So it's just hedge funding. And they've created this big pot to use our equity to underwrite their terrorism once more in this way, because they lost the ability to do that on the 25th of February last year when we secured all legal fiction systems. And so it doesn't matter what they're using, what name they're using. Look at Monmouthshire County Council, for example. Monmouthshire County Council have claimed that they have got the right of use of a property that was Hillston Park, and they wanted to sell it. It had a reservation. We talked about this. I think we'd gone off 800,000. Was sold under auction at 1.3 million. The parties were already notified that the right of use had already been used as a debt equity swap. So along come another structure, so another organisation, to take on the head, if you like, or to take off the head of this snake. So you need the equivalent in each of these different levels of this hierarchy mechanism we've created. And this is what you've got. So at the point where the debt was secured, the 10 quadrillion plus the 37 quadrillion that was already secured against the Hellenic Republic, which represents all that Rome is built on, which is Greece, which is Hellas, which is the rock of life. That's why we use rocks. So because it represents your share of this rock, this planet, and her resources that you've got in your hands instead of in their hands. So we are the secured party creditors. They didn't pay their debt. They said, if you don't pay your debt, here you go, this is their own code back in their face now. You said, just like you said about the debt and discharging it and all of that, just like you've said here with UCC 9609, it says that the secured party creditors, who are us now, who are us, all of us, universal source energy in all its forms. We're secured party to the collateral that you claimed was yours as a legal fiction. So we've secured that, what you said in your own claims. We're not making a claim, we're saying whatever you said, right? Now we want them to stand there and say, you can't do this, because it destroys themselves in doing it. They make themselves obsolete. That's why we're doing this. We're not doing this because we all think that corporate commerce is great. It's not. We want to kill it off completely and never to resurrect it. So private affairs, great. So the secured party creditor has this ability. They wrote this to restore the rights to any collateral peacefully surrendered. Look what we've got you guys doing. You've peacefully surrendered the collateral. The title is their collateral. You've taken your equity and said, right, here are my shares of the planet and its resources back in my own hand now. I'm aligned with Universal Law Community Trust, and we want to determine what it is that we want to execute the decisions on about what our water comes out the tap like, for example, or where we get electricity from. So we've put all of our shares, our universal shares, in this pot. What has the council got now? Your share of Monmouth, of that building at Hillston Park, your share of that hospital at Radlett, your share of that town hall, that court building, that business centre, the Rolls building, your share of all of this, wherever you stand, is now back in your hands. Did you give it to them? Did you give it to Monmouthshire Council? Did you give it to the NHS to kill people with? Did you give it to Bill Gates? No, you didn't. Nobody gave it to anybody because, first of all, it wasn't ours to give. We had the right of use of it. So if we can just stop fighting over it's mine, this is mine, this car's mine, this title's mine, these rights are mine, I've just got the right of use of it. So I can't give you even my thumbprint, my DNA. I can't give you my DNA because it's not mine. I've got the right of use of it. I'm part of a universal experiment, and I've already got a contract with Universal Law, and my DNA is already copyrighted by the creator of it. So really, and it wasn't me that created it, so I can't give you something that's not mine. Are you asking me to claim something that's not mine and give it to you? And you're going to persecute me for profit if I don't? No, you're going to persecute me for profit if I do. That's the irony. This Vatican system, the Catholic key means universal, like I said before. You are breaking universal law. We all have been, and that's why we've been having to pay again, because we've been encouraged just to do it. But at the point where you realise that you're doing it, you don't need to do that anymore, do you? Just go, what happens if I say, no, what if I don't do the thing that I always do right now? Wait and see what happens at that point. Something else happens. Whatever it is that you imagined is going to happen just cannot happen because you haven't, that's the consent. I can't talk about my consent once I've granted it. I consented to be a Vatican debt slave. I haven't got any. But what happens if I don't do that? Or I've got all of my consent and suddenly the universe is roaring through you and you are using and being able to comprehend all of these things that didn't make any sense to you before. So now you're the secured party creditor. what have you got the right to do? We've got the right to restore the rights of the right of use of this asset that was used as collateral, to discharge the debt that these private corporations had incurred and not settled through the trespass of entering into knowingly, for the first time ever, with all its terms and conditions disclosed, into a contract to say that if you continue to trespass upon the rights of these people, you will be entering into agreement to incur these charges, 20 million. Why? Because that's approximately how much they make every day in just one account in your name, or with your shares, because it's not your name you're using. Now, at the point where you turn around then and say, okay, well, I've adjusted my comprehension of this, my state of mind now, I'm the secured party creditor. In paper fiction, it looks like this. In actual exemplification of restoration of rights, then, so you go through the door. You have got a right, it says so there, to restore and render the property useless. What happened is you as the creditor peacefully surrendered your rights of use of that property, that building, that water, back to universal law, and universal law granted you back the right of use for you to use it right, with all of its liabilities discharged, and so it fits into our constitution, universal, do no harm, cause no loss or damage. And the exchange of that from slavery to kindness credits or universal law frequency, you discharged the liabilities that you would have created had you continued to carry on, just like your mortgage. So 800,000 was taken as the reserve price, but along with all of the other ledgers, all of the other asset that was held inside the Monmouthshire ledger roll and Hereford ledger roll, and it had already been, asset list had already been assigned, given a value, adjusted against the account, and the companies, the corporations, have got a running total, just like the official receivers do. And if there's anything left at the end of the discharging and the insolvency procedure of this bankrupt corporate state, then they can have it, can't they? What have they got? Empty credit files. That's what these corporations got, the jurisdiction of empty credit files. Why? Because you stopped peacefully surrendering your collateral to them and peacefully surrendered it to yourself instead. So that's why they couldn't come through the doors screaming about the police trying to lay charges for criminal damage, because it was all legal. We want them to set a precedence to say that secured party creditors cannot do this, because we don't believe that it's lawful that somebody can come with a piece of paper and remove you from your right of use of anything. And so what we're trying to do is get the community to realize the difference between the legal, I can legally kill you. I can legally kill you. I can legally put you in a position, remove all of your rights, force you now into taking unknown substances because I've got a piece of paper and it says that you have to do it. So anybody who is okay with that, go and take the vaccine. And I believe that that's why it's all happening, to the earth wants rid of that, and the universe wants rid of that mindset that cannot determine for itself the difference between what's right and not. And the rest of us are just, getting on with really living. The compensation that comes. So we created the Ministry of Remedy. The compensation, people have been damaged and caused harm and loss for all of this time, and it's time for redemption. We can never ever appease really the cost and liabilities that we've caused physically to one another by materialism anyway. But what we can do is try to make the situation better so that history is not repeated again, generation to generation. So we're severing that chain of that debt. And for example, somebody's had their house stolen. Okay, here's a list of houses that have all been restored through this structure. Take your pick. Which one do you want? You've got a right to restore your rights to something of the equal and exact value of what it was you lost. Now, Obviously we can't do anything about them killing our loved ones for profit. But again, this is all part of it. All of these people, I believe, had to go through these experiences to get us to this point where we realize that it's an illusion and we're creating it from our own psychotic state. So, you know, the remedy that comes is brought under the warrant of the people. So where they haven't been able to seal or issue a writ 66 since they used our equity for the very last time to discharge the bank's liabilities, and that was it, the final nail in the coffin, that particular coffin, which was part of the Maastricht Treaty. And then obviously they weren't able, they had no equity to back anything, so that's why you don't see any signatures, because nobody will put their money, their equity, their indemnity, bring forth a bond that's going to indemnify the matter. If you've made a mistake, they haven't got it, they haven't got anything. So you've got just and not even a piece of paper now. From 1980, we've been allowing people to be kicked, physically removed from their rights for a piece of paper that hasn't even got a signature on it. So now what we've got, people who are trained in that. We've got case law that have a case that proves that if you bother to go and put yourself between the criminals and the innocent people in your community, and you say, I've looked at your paperwork and based on my comprehension, it's fraud. You haven't got the requirement, you haven't got a writ, you haven't got a seal, and you will never get one. Why? Because all debts have already been discharged. So there is no debt. So your very existence here is based on misrepresentation and presumption, which gives me the grounds to arrest you. I'm a court bailiff. No, you're not, you're a criminal. You're impersonating, and he's impersonating a police officer, and so is she. And so it's 7 years in the clink. So come on. I know you're going to throw me on the floor, and I know you're going to rough me up, and I'm probably going to spray me in the face and say I resisted arrest. But I'm prepared to go to whatever length it is to put you in the right jurisdiction, which is already spelled out for you here. This is what happened to somebody who did the same as you a few years ago, and this is what we did to them in the High Court. The judge in the High Court is going to ask you all, where is your paperwork? And I'm prepared. I'm not just going to suck up your admin rubber stamp. I can go and rent a room in your shop and say I'm the court. That's why we've done what we've done with the Ministry of Remedy in the background here, because they're now running courts on Zoom. So if they can do that and you're going to believe that, then why is it so difficult for you to believe that somebody else can just put a green screen up and say, hey, you know, we're the Royal Courts of Justice equivalent? Because they're telling you that they are the equivalent, Microsoft Teams are the equivalent now, administrative courts. Where's the HMCTS logo gone? Can't use it. Where's the seal gone? They can't use it. And they can't use it because we've secured it. So whether you comprehend this or not you particularly, but the people listening, you never comprehended this in the beginning anyway. Everybody thought that we did, yes, I'm a good businessman. You didn't have a clue what was going on in the background. People going to work. I work for the police. You don't know that you're paying yourself to go to work. They've opened up your credit file, and the measly money that you get is just enough to keep you there above the slaves, to act as the slave patrol and give you a magic uniform. But you've actually paid yourself to go to work, and they've laundered your account and your stocks and shares and bonds. And really, none of us should ever need any police force anyway, because we only need the police if we're creating a community of fear of loss and criminality. If we're living in fear. So here we've got the system going, these people are coming to get you, pay us to protect you, but really it's us that are going to come and get you when you don't pay us anymore. So we just turn that on its head. We've got the People's Protection Patrol now. People have been putting their 10% in. This has been helping to pay for the things, but build this part so we can say, right, we've got 10 People's Protection Patrol here. What do you need, guys? You need this, you need this, you need radios, you need fuel in your car, you need a uniform, you need T-shirts. We've got all of your liabilities discharged anyway, so you've got a packet that's equivalent to whatever your overheads are each month. So, and you've got all of your hours back. We've only asked you for 5 hours a week. Who cannot, find 5 hours a week once you discharge all your liabilities to come and stand and see the law being upheld in our community that we've all been crying out for? So we can't keep running to them and saying, look at what you did to me and my family. Oh, who are you? I'm the Vatican debt slave. Oh, nothing happened here. You haven't even got a family. Your children that you had were classed as abandoned property, and your children are classed as bastards, even if the father's name's on the birth certificate. Abandoned. But the mother abandoned the baby to the corporate state by declaring, I'm pregnant, even at that point. So
it's classed as abandoned by creating the birth certificate.
Yeah,
registering.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've abandoned your responsibility and said, I can't do this. I don't know what I've got to do about supporting my family. I've given my family's trust to the corporate state.
Because if you're giving birth, it's like you're birthing the ship.
Is there something about reversing that within a certain period of time?
And to stay a master or mistress of your own estate under the Testative Act, which is still appropriate and applicable today, if the evidence, if the child's being evidenced as being alive every year for the first 7 years of the child's life, then the administrative system works the way it should work for that particular child. And that's why they have the elite. The elite know this, and that's what they've done. They've kept this. This is why the system fell down, because when we broke their non-disclosure, their system is based on these information not being disclosed in an open court, and we did. We just went into the court and just said that you're asking me to use something, screaming, who are you? Why won't you tell us your name? Well, you're asking me to use something that I haven't got the right of use of. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if I was to take something and claim it as mine without, it not being true, then am I not guilty of attempted theft?
Is that what you say to a policeman then, if they ask you for your name? That's great.
Yeah, are you forcing me into commerce? Show me the contract that I've got with your private corporation. Or now it's a different ball game. If you can get your head up to this level, I'm secured party creditor of your private corporation, and I haven't given you the authority to act in my community as the People's Protection Patrol. Here's a terrorist ticket. That's what we're doing now. People are giving out terrorist tickets to the people who impersonate police officers. They're being given tickets. People are being given tickets for having the DVLA plates on there because you are openly supporting terrorism. These are private corporations that are foreclosed, that we are the secured party creditors to. We haven't given them the authority to act. All of these things are true. You have never given them as a legal, as somebody who has reached their legal majority, consent that counts ever. Nobody's ever asked you. These are all these things are true. The documents, without you doing anything with us, those documents are just a statement of my comprehension that my name is under non-disclosure, and that name is under non-disclosure. I'll be prosecuted if I use it. It's true. It was created under undisclosed terms and conditions, and you're waiting for me to use it so you can prosecute me, to make money out of me. What happens if I don't? You don't happen. You don't exist in my life. There's nothing you can do because I don't allow you. I don't grant you the authority that you need to exist. Instead, what I've done is I've granted it over here to these people, and these people over here will not commit fraud upon their soul. They will not hawk my rights to be used as collateral to create slave tokens and terrorism with. So we'll get back to the word trust now. Trust isn't a thing. It's not equitable trust, express trust. It is this. It's the feeling that you have when you speak to someone, or you hold somebody's hand, or you don't. And it's that. So that what we talked about before, because we haven't got anything we can trust. We're born here. We've got no idea who we are, what we came from, because all of the knowledge is held inside the Vatican. And so we're like, we can be filled with whatever BS, the current narrative is to control us with. Never give it a second thought. Yes, I'm this. I have a piece of paper and it says got a degree in molecular science. I must be clever. And so we're having these projections as our definitions. And when you turn around and say, okay, I'm not taking any of that, I'm going to go to a point before I'm anything. And I just sit there a minute. But do you want me to tell you who I am? The answer is I don't know. No, what are you going to do with that? What you don't know who you are? Well, do you? You only want me to tell you who I am because you don't know who the hell you are. So you can fit in your unknown state. And now the state that I stated for you to feel validated in this unknown thing, instead of getting hold of each other's hands saying, do you know what, we don't know, and it doesn't matter. Because look around us. If it mattered whether we knew how this worked or not as a universe, we will, we will be seeing it because we don't know how it works and it's still there. So really, this whole process for me is to help people to stop fearing the unknown, because all our lives has been unknown. We've not known a thing all our lives that's got any value, any truth to it at all, apart from really that feeling that you've got when you fall in love with somebody, the feeling that you've got when you trust something. And okay, well, I can feel that and I don't trust anybody now. Okay, start to trust yourself. Trust yourself, that you can trust yourself not to trust anybody else. Just start at that point, is what I've said to people, and move from there. I can trust myself not to trust people. I can trust myself in that. You're taking a negative and turning it into a positive. And really that's all that this is about. If I've got to do a process to perform my exchanges with people in order to support myself, my family, my environment, my community, then let it be under the law, and I won't accept anything else it's offered to me. It's like this temptation with the convenience. I'm conveniently being manipulated not to use my imagination. Why? Because my imagination creates all that there is, as does yours. So if we're limited like this is what you have to imagine yourself within, then our energy is trapped already. So it doesn't. So when we talk about free energy, oh, where's my free energy device? You're the free energy device. Your energy has stopped being used as a revolving credit facility inside a utility transmitting account, creating fiction and leaving you as a slave. So whichever way you go around this, it's down to obviously each individual, but it's once you start to do it, it's that all right, I get that bit now, and each bit that you get gives you the standing to take the next step. That's why we say to people, don't go rushing in and doing a restoration of rights on the building for my community if you haven't restored your own rights yet. So we'll go through those steps. So personally, for I would start with the personal charges first, and then we'll move into the business ones, so that or you can do them all together. It's a few pieces of paper at our end, that's all.
Yeah, because business is under the name, so start with that, I think.
A couple of veg boxes for Tina and Will.
Yeah, not a problem. I owe Tina a bunch now, don't I? So.
What about your suppliers? Do you have the people who actually grow the food?
I mean, a lot of it's wholesaled in from Europe. So I work with a company that imports and do the importing to save me a lot of the admin and paperwork there. So I don't have a huge connection with the imported produce, but the UK produce, a lot of the local farms, I know them personally quite well.
Right, so. Because what we'd like to do is go to those farms and say, okay, you're having to charge this amount. I mean, they get pence for kilos of potatoes, don't they? It's so bad with the farms.
Yeah, they don't earn a lot anyway.
And then they've got dictatorship by the government.
They basically rely on the fact that they probably own the land outright already. And
well, they think they do, because they're going to find out very soon that they've just been holding a title to it, and Bill Gates has got their equity. If we don't help them understand this or comprehend this, what's really can go on instead of them, because they're peacefully, again, they don't own anything. They've peacefully surrendered my right of use of my farm to the legal fiction, and now Bill Gates has come along and said that all the equity that represented the legal fiction is now standing surety to his experiment, and the government said aye. So it's really important that we get to these farms, because that's really what to control the food supply is really the game.
And what if those farmers, I mean, because people are quite private about ownership and things like that, what if it's already within their own private family trust that's been
Doesn't make it, doesn't it, if you've got a private family trust, 9 times out of 10 you've already recorded it, registered it inside company's house, you've used legal fiction to do it with, and probably created a contract with the trust fund manager to, or you know, to invest your shares in it.
Right.
So you've already peacefully surrendered your collateral. Everybody's got to get that bit. Okay, the reason why my life is so like it is because I already peacefully surrendered all that I am to the legal fiction. Everything else after that, it doesn't matter. I have no matter. I have no interest in any matter. I am the interest in all matters, but I've given my rights away to say I'm an incapacitated legal debt slave. In fact, I'm dead lost at sea, and I'm just an apparition standing before you in this court of virtual reality and Microsoft Teams Zoom rooms.
Good way to put it.
So we need to keep, when they say keep it real, no, keep the fiction, and real is whatever it is that you decide. So getting to these farms and helping them comprehend that they do need to assign their right of use to their family trust that they have created, that they hold the ledgers for, not that somebody
I thought it was a baby.
It's okay.
Yeah. And then go to them and say, look, you know, we can't, in so many terms, can't do this because of DEFRA, because we've got a charge, we owe the funding circles and these money laundering exercises that the government have dressed themselves up as. And so we can help them by making them secured party creditors so that they can't come and claim, Bill Gates can't come and claim against you, using the debt that HM government are going to say that they've racked up with Bill Gates for the vaccines, or the use of his Microsoft Teams in the courts. Because it's already gone, it's already been assigned, it's already been signed into the trust. It already has been anyway, but if we go and we just stick a sign in people's land, we've had a lot of enthusiasm with people doing that, and it causes problems because it's not being presented in the right way, that suddenly the farmer's scared of you, more scared of you than the council, better the devil he knows. And the council are going to come and say, you know, we're kicking you off your land because of the debt to Bill Gates. You get the right of use, but you have to pay. Bill Gates have to have one of his chips to use your own rights. And so the farmer at that point has got the right of use. He's got a receipt. I'm a secured party creditor. Get off my land. You know, they'll understand that bit.
Yeah. Interesting.
So we've got quite a lot of work to do by going into the community and making sure people get their heads around this. You know, I'm a nightmare for it. Everybody spray them in the face. Well, not in the face. Just let me spray it in your hands. Rub your hands together. It's transdermal. Here's your coronavirus immunity record. Where have you got that from? No, from the community trust. What's that? Straight in talking about them that way, or give somebody a rock saying, hey, what do you mean you don't use kindness credits? You know, it's for us, we've been doing this 5 years here. It's only because that really it's because of the coronavirus, getting everybody to the point where you're sat in front of your laptops, not got anything else to do except learn what your rights are, because now you can see you haven't got any. It's really bad that we had to get to this point before people realised, oh, maybe I should have done something, you know, a little bit different.
It's just the manifestation of our ignorance, isn't it? It's like it has to get to a certain point to force the change.
Yeah.
So.
But also, you talk to anyone who's got, well, people I've spoke to with land and buildings and whatever, and they, first thing they do, anytime I send them something, is go and call their legal person, whoever deals with anything for them, and they just tell them, oh, it doesn't work.
Well, exactly. If say that to the people, say, look, I know that probably what you're going to do is you're going to go and give that to your legal person, and they're obliged to tell you it doesn't work, because if they were to tell you that this worked, then they would be obsolete in the same breath.
Yeah.
That's why they say that.
And also they threat, oh, you'll just lose everything, or you'll end up in court and blah blah blah.
We already lost everything.
Well, exactly. It's like, you know, I just told you, like you said, you would say to them, I just explained to you that you don't own anything, so how can you lose anything? What you're trying to do with these particular people is to remove get them to comprehend that if I don't own anything, I can't lose something. So that's it. So you go down that avenue. How to explain this to potential people, obviously, is depending. You listen to what they're saying. If they're saying to you, I'm going to lose everything, this particular individual is operating already in fear of loss, which most people are anyway. And so you have to help that individual break through that point with, you know, how can you lose something that you never had?
Yeah.
Well, I've got my farm. Have you? How did you get that farm? Well, I bought it. And what did you buy it with? Slave tokens. Okay, but what name is on the title? Oh, well, my legal fiction. And did you create that? No. Who gave it to you? My dad did. And who copyrighted it? Crown Corporation. Who owns the legal fiction? Who owns all of that and your farm? Then, if you believe that the title deed gives you the right of use.
Yeah.
That's why you can't own anything, even your car. And so DVLA is brilliant one to pull out. I own my car. No, you don't. Even on the document it says you don't. It's not proof of ownership. Who owns your car?
I told my brother-in-law that, and then he said, oh, I can prove that I own it because I've got the receipt from when I bought it.
So that's the bill of exchange. So do you need the license, a DVLA piece of paper? If it doesn't prove that you own it, and it says it doesn't prove you own it, and actually my proof of right of use of it is on a little bit of post-it note that I got from the garage with the date and the amount on, that's it.
Yeah.
But I'm over here going, oh, let me have a look at the number plate that's attached to the DVL, to the V5. Well, you know, all it says is that I agree to be in commerce. Bravo, guys. It took your right to travel and convey yourself freely and capitalized on it for them. Nice one, guys.
Yeah.
So with the number plates, we've just done a video about they get a fine for taking the number plates. It's 1,000 slave tokens worth of kindness credits. Go to that place over there with your number plates and give them either 1,000 slave tokens, don't want 1,000 slave tokens, or your number plates. And the assignment of consent's done for you. You get your new number plates, the 1,000 slave tokens, charges discharged because you just stopped supporting terrorism in your community. You redeemed your soul. That's the ministry remedy. You did it, not somebody standing there saying, well, you know, you judged yourself. If you're going to open the court hearing on a Zoom room and try and impose commercial code on living, breathing beings who are actually living, breathing, and being, then just by your very existence, you're a criminal. Just by you pressing on, hello, I'm the judge, welcome to the judge. The judge of the administrative court that has got only jurisdiction over dead things, and you want to imply that these people who are sitting behind this screen are now dead. Well, no, I'm not doing that. They did that because they put their name in. You have to put your name in. At the point, well, I can't use that name. Give me the right of use to use the name, I'll use it. That's all you have to say to anybody. If you can't remember any more of this, and there was, give us your name, give me the right of use to use the legal fiction, and I'll call myself whatever you want.
And they've taken my phone off me before, the police, at a protest, and then did something, they just like snatched it off me on my bike, and then they did some sort of thing with my phone where they scanned it or like plugged it in and did whatever they did.
And gave you it back?
Yeah, and then gave it back to me.
You should have said, I keep that, I'll prosecute you for theft.
But then do you think they did that to try and identify who I was?
I don't know enough about
or to identify the legal fiction.
I've no idea, love. Unless they look at it. I know that they think that because your name is whatever it is on Facebook, that's really your name. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
If I had Mickey Mouse up there, would it make me Mickey Mouse? They did that with a bank card. They got a bank, stopped me, and I got a bank card, and take the bank card and create a whole case file against this legal fiction based on the bank card. Thank you. I'll come in next day and say, I'm making a claim against you. What? Oh, now you're going to give us your ID. No, I'm going to use the same thing that you used yesterday, the bank card. Oh, you can't use that. Speak up for the camera. That's it. That's all you have to do is highlight or expose their complete baloney to them, and they can't stand in it anymore. It's like, I was around at the police station last night driving one of them mad, and he's like, I've got 15 days to fix this. And I said, all I can tell you, you need to write the truth. I came here today and I told you that I'm not granting the right of use of any legal fictions to anybody in this community. That's it. I can't write that. You can. That's the truth. No, I can't write that. You can't write the truth.
Crazy.
So
I'm gonna have to get back to work.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
have you got what you need to start yourselves off with now?
Yeah, I do believe so. So I'll get that information over to you.
I've got the bills. I've got bills in Minister Emma Venn name now at the house.
Yeah.
So I just need to send the red letter, which is the notice of transfer and negotiable instrument.
No, not at that point. The notice of transfer and negotiable instrument is where you've taken the equity from the legal fiction and put it into the trust and given back the legal fiction Minister Emma Venn to go and knock you. There's a real legal fiction that I have the right of use of, but I'm not going to incriminate myself for using because it's used for the right use to stop you stepping over from the public into my privates.
Right.
That's what you've done there. So any charges that are incurred in the title Minister Emma Venn is the secured party creditor, the legal fiction filer. Look at the document UCC. And so really what all you've done is you have stopped the charges from being anything other than dischargeable. So now you can have a bit of fun. So you call them up and you say, hi, and record it. I'm Minister Emma Venn, and I have received this account that I'm the liability holder for. And you are implying that there are these charges outstanding. And so this is my offer of settlement. I'm prepared to accept that amount of credit, which obviously if I paid you it would be credit. So and I know that it's a credit note, and so I'm going to apply that credit note that you've kind of created to discharge the charges of either your account EDF, which is outstanding against my secured party creditors, to whatever it is there, or I can directly discharge it from HM government's account, and then you'll get a thank you note from Big Blue Asset Management on behalf of Her Majesty's government to say thank you very much for discharging 500 quid worth of charges off their bill.
Right.
Yep.
Which account would you like me to credit your debt against? You switched it. Their debt, your debt is their credit. And now their credit is their debt. Their credit is discharging their debt. You kept fiction in fiction. We'll go through that a bit. I'm happy to do these bits for you if you're not ready yet, but I think you're not far off there too.
Yeah, because the water is now saying that they're going to send bailiff letter around next.
Oh, no.
But then isn't that when they've already sold it on at that point?
I bet this is just one of their letters. This is just an automated churning out of hypothetical presumption that they need you to pick up and go, I better call them and say, oh, it's me. But now you're calling them and saying, yes, it is me, Minister, and then me. And how would you like me to discharge these charges as my role as official receiver equivalent of the debts that are owed to my community by Her Majesty's government and your corporation? Because we couldn't, obviously rely on you performing your obligations. So the creditors have assigned their equitable shares and rights. And I don't actually think that I've sent you an assignment of consent to continue trading while you are actually secured collateral to my.
Yeah, because there's a slip on the bottom of it and it says gyro credit.
Yeah, that's a credit note.
So it's already paid then, right?
Yeah, well, it's for you to endorse to discharge, but we're not. We're keeping them going if we do that. We're definitely not. We're making them an offer of settlement, and we're in control of the discharging of it. We're the ones that are going to say, has it been discharged or not? We just want to know which account do you want to discharge it. I'm going to discharge it because I know that you lot can't, and you could, but you haven't got the intention to do it. So my creditors have come to me because they know that I will do this. We've got this 47 quadrillion pot of debt to discharge these charges against now, not touching anybody's equity. What is it? Which account do you want me to knock the 300 quid off? To EDF or HM government or Bristol Water?
Yeah. Okay.
That's it. And then if they say, the conversations that we have had was Robinson's Way, one that really sticks in my head. And he's like, hang on a minute, you're telling me that we've got a debt with you? Not only have you got a debt, but the company that have instructed you to act on their behalf, they've got a debt as well. Oh, well, we haven't got you named on the account. Okay, well, I can see, according to my records, that you've been served with this assignment of consent on this day at this time. Do you want to go and just check and make sure before you refuse my offer of settlement? Because I'm the only party who has got the authority to act in this matter. If you refuse to negotiate with me, then the account will never be able to be settled. And you'll be responsible for that. Oh, just a minute. Came back, and the guy, this lovely guy in the end, he stopped working for Robinson's Way, and he does 5 hours up at Preston now.
Funny. I love that.
He was like, I can't believe it. And he's on I said, go on there and have a look at that and have a look at the UCC one filing. And he's like, I know a little bit about how that works. He said, well, you've done to them, you've done to us not to you, but the company you work for, what they've been doing to you. And that's why you have to work for that crappy little company to pay your debts. But if you said to me, go on the website, I'm going on the website now, I'm going to sign my consent, and you can do 5 hours a week. I said, would you work for Robinson's Way? He said, no, of course I would. Go on then. That's it.
Amazing.
That's it. So
I'd love to, I don't know if you record these phone conversations, but it'd be really beautiful to actually really witness the back and forth and of the dialogue
with the companies.
Yeah, just I know you've kind of told us but it'd be great to see it.
They're on YouTube. If you go on the Universal Law Community Trust and Emma Venn channel, there's a council tax one on there, and we didn't even get that part. It was beautiful. She was just like, I can't remember. It was over in about 30 seconds after I said about the assignment of consent. That was it. Dink. So but I've got a camera full of these.
Do you have some with the police as well? I'd love to hear that one.
Yeah, the police one's on.
They're there on there. For anybody, just go and listen to them.
Right, I'll do that.
And what I'm waiting for is for other people. We've got other people now doing this, which is great. To this degree, we've had many people obviously doing these steps, but to the degree where they're going and they're actually got that confidence to go and stand and put themselves in the court on behalf of the people and support and protect their community's rights and assets, then you've got some amazing people now in your country. Going around and doing these amazing things. So
what if I'm driving somebody else's vehicle and what if I get pulled over and then they say I've got to produce
Well, if you're in somebody else's vehicle, then that vehicle's got number plates on it.
Yeah.
Well, what are you doing?
So I can't do that if it's got the DVLA plates on it.
You can, but then you need a release of commercial instrument for your driving license. The convenience of just getting into a commercial conveyor vehicle now is out the window. It's much more convenient to take the number plates off for everybody and have their share of the rock, indemnify them should they need it, looking like the people in their community standing surety to them, and so that they're the insurance. So that why would I get in a car with number plates on?
Yeah,
I'd have my own number plates, take my number plates with me, and okay, on this day I'm going to get into my friend's car. I need to indemnify myself in this. The VIN number is this. Send that over. Get myself. You could do it yourself. It's not about you've got to send it to us and do it. You've got a pack. Everybody is supposed to be doing this for themselves with their own packs, with their own ledger rolls, because otherwise they will get this pointing the finger down. No, you did. You granted you and signed your consent over to somebody else. This was the last ditch attempt, right, with the police yesterday to try to convince me that I was doing the wrong thing, stopping these people from using the restrictions. And he said, "Look at you. You're making him into your slave." And I said, I'm just stopping him from being yours. So they will scrape around at the bottom of that barrel in the end. And it's that we're just stopping ourselves from supporting slavery, really. So you would make your own document, exemplify it, keep it in your record. On this day I assigned the right of use to myself to be able to convey myself in this conveyance, created the documents for that, and my indemnity covers me wherever I am in anything, unless it says I'm in commerce, unless I'm using the slave tokens at my point of sale. We can do all of these steps, and still if we've got to turn our energy into slave tokens, we're still in that slavery system. So the more people we can help by just speaking about this, it go like wildfire. The whole island, I can't remember the name of it, and they've heard about this. We've been obviously doing quietly here for the last 5 years, and they're like, we've been doing this all the time, come over here and see us. And they've got their whole thing going on over there.
My friend lives on an island off Northern Ireland, and the police come over every now and then, but like no one taxes their car there or anything.
Yeah.
And
they
just rolled their car into a ditch at one point.
What, the police did?
No, there was a bit of a festival going on, and they were flying a helicopter around, came over there trying to like check all the vehicles, just be a nuisance. And then the people there rolled the police vehicle into a ditch.
Oh, right.
And then they just left.
If you look, the number plates on the police vehicles, not even MOT'd. How dare you drive around and conveyances that don't even meet your own criteria and persecute other people for not having an insurance policy that shows on my screen? Well, you're looking on the wrong screen, mate. You're never going to find my indemnity on your commercial screen. So that's why the number plates. How are you going to search in your system for my rights, or whether I've done something right or not, when my point of reference is over there and you can't get in it? You haven't got the password to get into the information that is now private. If you took all of the public information and privatized it and set that as a standard, then over there, and there it is, all of the equitable rights and shares of this planet and its resources are over there, and it is private to the people of the universe. You are not included in that because you like to play commerce with these people's rights. So they had to put them somewhere that you couldn't get them. And so call me whatever you like, I'm not opening the doors for you to do that to those people.
And obviously that puts you outside of their legalities, and I guess that you're also outside of any lawful restrictions with that as well. You are like immune.
But not the law. I can't break the law. If the police came to us and they said, right, we've got a victim here, and the conveyance number plate had ULCT whatever on the end of it, and we would say, right, okay, got a victim, that there's harm, and there's the information to indemnify, to stand surety. We're not here to facilitate breaking law breakers, criminals. We're here to stop that.
What I think what you'll get confused there is you're thinking of act statutes and legislation, which is different to law.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's where the confusion was there.
If there's a victim, then we will release the information.
Victim or loss or harm to another, then it's
She'll give you
it's
the
breaking
information
of the law. Yeah.
Mm.
But just speeding, or I don't know, how does speeding work though?
Speeding,
because it can
doesn't,
harm, but
only
There
if
has to be a victim.
Yeah, it
I
has to be a
can't.
victim.
There's no presumption under the law. I can't look at you and say, well, today I've got grounds to believe that you may break the law, so I'm going to arrest you just in case.
yeah.
Can't do that. I'm breaking the law with my presumption. There's no presumption. There has to be hard facts and evidence to bring a claim and a victim.
Okay.
That's it.
How do you say to the speeding fine people, like,
I can't hear you. Gone off.
He said, what happens if you get a speeding ticket through then?
I forget with a speeding ticket. The problem with the speeding ticket that one of the MMNs got was because the V5 document hadn't been filled out right and sent for export, so they tried to join the VIN number to a previous legal fiction because it was still in circulation. So but as far as the speeding ticket goes, okay, I'm in my conveyance. You have to give me the whole scenario.
I get what you're saying. If you're speeding and you've got the ULC plates on it, then and you've exported it correctly, then they have no jurisdiction.
That's right. Only the legislation.
But yeah, yeah, I get that.
You tell me that, yeah. So, but if I'm in a commercial conveyance with my driving license and I've paid my commercial insurance, I've created all of those contracts that I'm obliged to perform under the legislation of the Road Traffic Act then.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Okay.
So
things like, does this apply to bus lanes and all of those kind of fines? And
yeah. Congestion charges, parking tickets.
There's literally no victims and you're literally
It's called an offence. There's not, it's an act, a deed. I can only do a deed as a living, breathing being, and there's no deeds supposedly done in their system because we're all dead. So deed and dead deed. So your actions, that's why they call it action. It's not an act, you are acting. On the documents that we had for the court, you are acting in the role of defendant. I'm not acting in any role, thank you very much, other than the Minister and Ben.
Yeah.
So defendant, you're the defendant because you just openly offered to commit fraud.
Yeah.
So it's indefensible. You're acting in the role of indefensible. So
starting to get my head around it now. Just starting to really get clarity. Like, it's good to have like real life examples just to really see how it all applies. And
exactly, and that's why your opportunity that you're presented here is so great, because you're not only going to be able to show it to your family and your community personally, you've got this ability to be able to introduce it to every single one of your clients.
Yeah, a lot of my friends are quite interested already.
Excellent. Right, so we'll get you through to those steps, and then maybe have a meeting with your other friends as well, so that you can start to grow this. So you're not sitting there going, all right, okay, well, where can I go to do my exchange for kindness credits with myself now?
Yeah, that's why I was kind of like building the structure of like anything that we would use over a period of a year, and then just try and work our way through to get each role fulfilled, and then we've got our own little structure of community where we can all like exchange through the through that. Yeah.
And also the so there's a project proposal. So when you start to build your community, put I'd have this at my till, at my checkout. I'd have an assignment of consent, some rocks, a receipt book, and the project proposal to people, or a kindness credit claim form. And just I'd put that as a pack in their bag and say, here you go, take those away and have a look at them, and come back next week when you come and see me, and if you've got any questions, let me know, and we'll organise a Zoom room with these crazy women, and and see if we could help one another. Really, that's all this is.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'll start just with my own practicalities.
Yeah,
just
of course,
I've got
first.
on it, because it's hard to share without really applying it yourself.
Exactly. There's nothing worse than you can't tell somebody
You just
to
can't,
The blind leading the blind.
Exactly.
yeah, no, and there's nothing worse. We had somebody and they were going around and they say, you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to do this, and they turn around and they said to what bits have you done? It's like,
yeah, no, you can't.
Yeah.
well, shut up then.
Yeah.
Don't do something. Don't talk about something you haven't done yourself. That's what got us into the right. I think it might or may not work. Well, we did this, we practiced this, and we found it worked, and we came to you, and we had to wait for evidence. People said, why have you only just started putting videos up? Because we've got loads of videos to show you, where it didn't work. They're all over BBC with the common law and stuff. But for us to get this evidence to say, right, okay, we're ready now, we can say, for this we did this, for that we did that, for that we did that. So there's nothing that really we do in this reality, if call it that we haven't already practiced these on.
Could you say that common law is still somewhat within their framework, and this kind of transcends their framework completely? Common
law is a rabbit hole that they created. It's their definition. So everything comes from universal law. Whatever it is, whether we pick up a cup and make a cup, or whether we create a definition called common law. My problem with common law is I should never have had to have my rights written down in the first place, because nobody should have been able to be implied to have the ability to remove me from them.
So they're just completely intrinsic and a layer above it all.
Exactly. Yeah, I said this to this policewoman in the police station in Nicaragua, and she went to give me a piece of paper, and I just looked at her and I said, "What is that?" And she said, "It's your rights." I said, I started laughing. I said, "Do you seriously think that you could give me a piece of paper with my rights on? They're written inside me. They're not for some man or woman to write down and tell me what they are or what they're not or what right I've got." And she just looked at me, she was like, "Doing."
Yeah.
Completely, what the hell? Just the implication that I need to write my rights down somewhere in case.
Would you say that's a contract? Like, so they're saying that and you're like, okay, that's my rights, and you're kind of submitting in some sense to that paradigm.
Yeah.
Whereas if you completely don't enter those contracts, you are operating. They can't really hook onto you. You know what I mean?
If people say use the word sovereign or of the family, even the system's now been taught to say, "Oh, they're freemen of the land. We know how to deal with you," which is to shove you in the administration court and do you over because you just exposed yourself as a legal minor. You said, I don't know what's going on. I think I should have some common law rights in this matter. You should be you've got fiduciary duties to me. Hang on a minute, you lunatic. You're in a commercial court. You're in an administrative system demanding common law rights. And I did this in Bournemouth. And the judge is there and he's like, there is no common law in this country anymore. Right. And all hell broke loose. But he was right. Inside a commercial system, common law doesn't exist, because in order for you to have stepped into that legal system fiction, you had to break the contract that was commonly associated with your being, with the creator of whatever it is you are.
Just by entering the system with them.
Just by using that name.
Okay,
Or just by saying, you know, coming and taking the liabilities of this, and instead of saying, right, okay, I mean, I went in there with the Sheriff of Dorset, so I've stood the police down and told them to arrest this man. The police have come running in, and I'm like, arrest that man, and they're like, who? The judge jumped up and ran away, and you know, because it's their conditioning. You're working with their conditioning. Get rid of all of your own conditioning. So that's the real debt we're discharging. Is the debt that the indebted mind has got on us, and that's what it creates from. And discharging that and saying, okay, you know, does that thought or belief do me any favors? No. Do I need it then? No. Have I only kept holding on to it because everybody else is, and I'm scared of myself. So, you know, how can we be scared of something that we don't know? Yeah. And so when you go, right, okay, if I am unknown, then I know myself that much that I'm unknown, and stay and remain in that indefinable state, really. So by doing that, I'm not defining myself as anything. Who are you? I'm looking for that. The best I can do is minister an event, energy and matter in movement, and I'm ministering that. That's it.
Yeah. Okay, well, really appreciate your extra time here today. And,
well, it's been great. You know, I've been looking forward to this. I've just going to stop this recording. So thanks, guys.